You sit in the dim glow of your laptop screen at 11:47 p.m., cursor hovering over the bright blue Pay Now button. The Prop Firm Challenge page lists the details in clean, professional fonts. $250 for the $50,000 evaluation account, 10% profit target in Phase 1, 5% daily drawdown limit, 10% maximum trailing drawdown. Your heart races as you enter your card details, the kind of quiet adrenaline that makes your fingers feel slightly numb. You glance over your shoulder even though you're alone in the apartment, because you haven't told anyone about this. Not your partner who thinks you're just browsing trading videos again. Not your friends who already rolled their eyes at your last attempt. The confirmation page loads with a soft chime. Payment successful. Challenge activated. The dashboard appears, showing your new demo balance and the ticking countdown on the 30-day timer. For a moment it feels electric, like you've just bought a ticket to a different life. This could be the door, the one that finally turns your screen time into real money instead of endless losses from your personal account. The fear sits right beside the excitement, a tight knot in your stomach whispering that $250 is gone if you mess this up. Another failed attempt added to the quiet pile of disappointments you don't talk about. You refresh the page anyway, watching the account status flip to active, and in that instant, a subtle shift settles in. You're no longer just trading your own ideas in your bedroom, you're stepping onto someone else's stage, where every pip, every click, every moment of hesitation will be measured against rules you didn't write. This is the first time the game has real gatekeepers, and you can already feel their eyes on your balance. Level 1, the challenge. You log in the next morning with fresh coffee and a notebook open beside you, the kind of focused energy that comes from knowing your money is already on the line. The excitement bubbles under everything, a nervous buzz that makes even the quietest market hours feel alive, but it's laced with overcaution. You read the rules again and again, no more than 5% loss in a single day, stay under the trailing maximum, hit that 10% profit without blowing up. You tell yourself you're ready, that all those months of backtesting have prepared you. Your first few trades are tiny, almost timid, risking less than 0.25% because the thought of resetting the entire challenge feels unbearable. Then one afternoon a clean setup appears on EUR USD, a textbook pullback to support with strong volume confirmation. You enter with what feels like disciplined sighs, but the market reverses sharply on unexpected news flow. The loss climbs faster than you expected, eating into your daily buffer until you're staring at 4.2% down, and the panic hits like ice water. Your hands move before your brain catches up. You double the position to recover it, then cut half in fear, then add again in a frantic hedge that only deepens the hole. The equity curve dips dangerously close to the daily limit. You close everything manually, heart pounding, sweat prickling your scalp, and sit frozen for 20 minutes watching the numbers stabilize just above the red line. You barely survive the phase, scraping through with the profit target still distant and your confidence shaken. That's the hidden cost nobody advertises when you click that payment button. It isn't the entry fee that drains you, it's trading every single session with the sword of instant reset hanging over your head, turning every valid setup into a test of nerves and forcing you to second guess instincts you once trusted. The challenge isn't really about proving you can make money, it's about proving you can survive the constant invisible pressure of knowing one bad day can erase everything and send you back to the payment screen. Level 2, the verification. You pass phase 1 with 3 days to spare, and the dashboard flips you straight into verification. The rules tighten immediately. The profit target drops to 5%, while the drawdown limits stay the same, yet somehow feel heavier, more final. The psychological shift lands hard. It is no longer about proving you have skill. It becomes a quiet, relentless mantra of don't screw this up. Every setup now carries the weight of standing right at the edge of the finish line. One quiet afternoon, during a low liquidity Asian session, you take a position on GBP JPY. The setup looks textbook on the higher time frame, but price starts chopping violently after a minor news tick. Your equity curve swings hard, kissing within 0.4% of the daily drawdown limit. Panic rises as the number creeps closer. You want to cut it instantly, but you also don't want to waste all the progress. You sit frozen for several minutes before finally closing at a small loss, hands slightly shaking. That single moment forces a new kind of discipline into you, the kind you never needed in your personal account. You start waiting longer for confirmation. You cut losses faster. You stop moving stops just to give trades room. You begin to understand understand that passing isn't really about being a great trader at all. It is about surviving the firm's rules long enough for them to trust you with their capital. The verification phase does not reward brilliance. It rewards consistency under pressure, and that quiet truth starts to settle deep in your bones. Level 3, the first funded. The email lands on a Thursday morning. Congratulations, you have been funded. Your new account loads at $50,000 with an 80-20 profit split in your favor. The dashboard looks different now, cleaner, more professional, the payout button already active. Seeing that balance fills you with a rush of pure euphoria. This is house money, real funded capital, and for the first time, it feels like you have finally made it past the gatekeepers. Your first few trades come with a confident, almost cocky edge. Then you hit the minimum threshold and request your very first payout. The waiting period begins, 14 days of monitoring while the firm reviews and processes. During that wait, a small drawdown appears. Nothing catastrophic, just 4% from a couple of losing trades that were technically within every rule. Yet it feels intensely personal. This isn't your own savings you are watching shrink, yet somehow the sting is sharper. The emotional whiplash hits hard. One moment you are quietly celebrating the funded status. The next you are questioning every decision with fresh anxiety. Trading someone else's capital initially feels freer, like the pressure of your personal account is finally gone, until the rules start to feel like handcuffs. The daily loss limits, the trailing drawdown, the required trading days, the profit split calculations that appear on every report. You realize the freedom is conditional, and the invisible chains are always there, quietly reminding you who really owns the account. Level 4, the consistency test. You spend the next several months inside the funded account, hitting every payout threshold like clockwork while staying safely inside the drawdown limits. 4 straight months of 8 to 10% profit, never touching the 5% daily cap or the 10% trailing maximum. The process starts to feel almost routine, yet something inside you begins to shift near the end of each 30-day window. The temptation to overtrade creeps in quietly. You see the profit target sitting just 3% away, and suddenly every setup looks urgent. You tell yourself one extra trade will lock it in safely. On the final Friday of month 5, you spot a strong move forming on NAS 100 during a low volume afternoon. The setup is valid, but you already have 3 open positions, and the account is carrying maximum allowable risk for the day. You ignore the internal rule you set for yourself and add a 4th contract anyway, doubling your exposure to chase the remaining profit. Price reverses instantly on an unexpected retail sales print. The equity curve plunges, brushing within 0.8% of the daily drawdown line. The platform flashes a warning. You scramble to flatten everything at a loss, heart hammering, watching the numbers stabilize just above the red zone. You make the payout deadline by the skin of your teeth, but the near miss leaves a mark. That single moment teaches you the sharp difference between being profitable and being sustainable. You can make money under pressure, but only if you refuse to bend the rules even when the finish line is in sight. The firm's money is yours to grow, to compound, to treat like your own future, until it isn't. One violation, one moment of greed, and the entire account can be paused or revoked without warning. The lesson settles deep. Consistency is not about winning every month. It is about never giving them a reason to take it back. Level 5, the scaling window. You clear the consistency period cleanly, and the dashboard updates with new numbers. Your account has been scaled to $100,000. The jump feels immediate and physical. Position sizes double overnight. Daily risk allowance rises from $2,000 to $4,000, and suddenly the numbers on the screen carry heavier weight. The first real payouts start arriving in your bank account, a few $1,000s wired after each review cycle, and life begins to rearrange itself around them. You pay down a credit card, book a quiet weekend away with your partner, and for the first time, the money feels tangible instead of theoretical. Yet the relationship starts to strain in small, unexpected ways. Your partner notices you checking the platform during dinner, eyes distant, mind still half inside the charts. You cancel plans when volatility spikes because the bigger account demands more attention. The new pressure arrives like a quiet hum you cannot turn off. Don't mess up the bigger number. A single bad week now risks 4 figures instead of hundreds, and the emotional stakes rise with it. You find yourself hesitating on perfectly valid setups simply because the dollar amount at risk feels larger. You tighten your rules further, waiting longer for confirmation, cutting winners early just to protect the scaled balance. The euphoria of growth mixes with a low-grade anxiety that never fully leaves. Scaling isn't just more capital, it is more psychological weight, more eyes on your performance, more of your identity quietly tied to numbers you no longer fully control. The account is growing, but so is the invisible load you carry every single morning when you open the platform. Level 6, the professional funded. You are now managing a significantly scaled account that has grown to $250,000, along with 2 additional funded accounts from the same firm. The profit split sits comfortably at 85% in your favor, and the payouts arrive like clockwork every 2 weeks. Regular withdrawals start hitting your bank account, thousands of dollars that feel earned rather than lucky, yet something fundamental has changed in how you operate. You no longer treat this like a game or a lottery ticket. You treat it like a real business. You have trading hours, risk protocols, review sessions, and monthly performance reports you actually read carefully. Explaining what you do to outsiders becomes increasingly difficult. When family or old friends ask how work is going, you give vague answers about trading because the full truth, that you manage hundreds of thousands in capital under strict rules set by a firm in another country, sounds either too good to be true or too complicated to explain. The isolation settles in quietly. You stop trying to make them understand. The consequence is clear and permanent. You have moved from proving you can trade to proving you can keep the account alive long term. Every decision is filtered through survival first, profit second. You are no longer chasing big wins. You are protecting the relationship you have built with the firm and the steady income stream it provides. That shift from Hunter to Guardian defines this entire level. Level 7, the Architect. You reach the high tiers. Your combined capital under management across multiple accounts now exceeds $1.2 million. The firm has granted you top-tier scaling with the highest profit split they offer. At this level, you no longer execute every trade yourself. You have built a small system, automated alerts, a junior trader you brought on to handle part of the execution under your strict rules, and you review everything at the end of each session, yet you still carry full responsibility for every rule, every drawdown limit, every compliance requirement. The weight never leaves your shoulders. You sit back sometimes and reflect on the journey that brought you here. The late nights paying for challenges, the panic of nearly breaching drawdown and verification, the emotional whiplash of the first payouts, the slow, grinding consistency that reshaped your personality, the time it took. The relationships that became distant because you were always half present, mentally inside the charts. The version of you that once dreamed of quick riches has been replaced by someone far more disciplined, far more cautious, and in some ways far lonelier. On the surface, everything looks like success. The numbers are impressive, the income is stable, the lifestyle has improved, but the heaviest contrast lives underneath. The real product of this entire journey isn't the money sitting in your accounts. It is the version of you the rules forced you to become. Patient to the point of obsession, hyper-aware of risk, emotionally detached from individual trades, capable of watching large swings without panic or euphoria. The firm's rules didn't just fund your trading, they rebuilt you from the inside out, sanding away impulsiveness and replacing it with cold, calculated consistency. You succeeded, yes. But sometimes late at night, you wonder if the person who clicked pay now on that very first challenge would even recognize who you are now, and whether the price you paid in time, in relationships, and in parts of your old self was the real transaction all along. You sit there again in the dim glow of your laptop screen, the clock reading 11:47 p.m., cursor hovering over that same bright blue Pay Now button. Your fingers feel the exact same slight tremble they did the night you first entered your card details and kept the whole thing secret from everyone around you. You believed this challenge was the door, the one that would finally turn all those late nights and lost trades into something real. You had no idea what you were actually signing up for. You didn't know the rules would strip away the dreamer who chased quick wins and replace him with someone who waited, who cut losses without emotion, who survived instead of hoped. You didn't know the funded account would feel like freedom at first until the daily limits and trailing drawdowns began to feel like invisible handcuffs. You didn't know scaling would multiply the numbers and the pressure in equal measure. You didn't know that every payout, every review cycle, every moment of consistency would quietly rebuild you into a version far more disciplined, far more patient, and in some ways far lonelier than the person who clicked that first payment. Yet here you stand, changed, calmer, carrying the steady income and the heavy knowledge of what what it truly cost. And right now, in another quiet room, another trader sits in front of their screen with the same racing heart and wide open hope. They enter their card details, glance over their shoulder to make sure no one is watching, and click Buy Challenge. They believe this is their moment, their door, their way out. They carry the same beautiful ignorance you once did. The cycle begins again. The mechanism waits patiently, and the rules, as always, are ready to begin their silent work of turning the next dreamer into the next survivor.